All right, let's see if I can remember how to do this thing. 906 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Happy New Year. My name is Chris Hand. Back in the main chair after quite a while off. Thank you to everyone who filled in, from Cameron Smith to Joan Jones. They were fantastic in my absence, and thank you guys for allotting me the time off so I could hang out with family. It was awesome. It was a great break. I hope that you have had some good time with your family as well over the holiday. Joining me in the producer's chair today is our good friend Mason. What's up, Mason?
What up, Chris? How you doing? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, how you doing?
Mac Morey just couldn't take it
Couldn't get out of bed.
Everybody was going to get a short week. He had to have a shorter week.
Yeah, make it a little closer to the weekend for him.
All right. Maybe Mac will be back tomorrow.
We'll see what happens.
There wasn't any big football games or anything yesterday.
Yeah, not that I know of.
No.
Maybe you played touch football at home or flag football or something, but that's about all I got.
Got a little case of the woo flu.
Yeah.
It was, going woo a little bit too much. Maybe that was what happened.
A little too much fun on New Year's and
Maybe.
just stretching it out a couple more days.
We also have Jay Harper in the newsroom, in for Ken Weaver. What's up, Jay? How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you, my man. Good morning.
And you guys, I always say it, the most important member of our crew on the phone lines and the super text line, 615-737-9986. Feel free to call in, say hello, have a conversation. We are more than happy to, open the phone lines and talk to you about what's been going on. We talked a little bit about what happened on New Year's Eve. I didn't watch any of this live, full disclosure, and I don't blame you if you didn't either. New Year's Eve has gotten increasingly woke, and this was a woke New Year's Eve. Was it as bad as Mayor Bill de Blasio dancing alone in Times Square with his wife while they wore masks? I don't know. That was pretty weird. That was a weird one. But it was bad. We had Green Day doing their best rendition of Shilling for the System with their latest MAGA agenda. And all that came with that. Oh, you want to give me some audio? Yeah, now everybody do the propaganda. You just did. You just did the propaganda. Meanwhile, at Mar-a-Lago, we had Vanilla Ice and the Ninja Turtles doing Yo Ninja Rap, which is just a lot more fun. That's far more fun.
Oh, absolutely more entertaining.
Yeah, you're a Yo Ninja Rap guy. I'm a Yo Ninja Rap guy.
I listen occasionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Vanilla Ice is 56 years old now, and he still dresses like he's some kid with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I mean, I don't know.
But which way, Western man? Are you going to have fun, or are you going to let your holidays be invaded by that woke mind virus and just incessant bitterness of the left? And Green Day, they chose the incessant bitterness. Now, I got to see Billy Joe Armstrong in Green Day. It was back in 2012. I was working in music radio with iHeart at the time, and I was at the iHeart Radio Music Festival in Vegas. And this guy's been a nut for years, so I don't know why this surprises anybody. But at the iHeart Radio Music Festival, they told him, he only had so much time, and he had a meltdown on stage and broke guitars when they told him he had a minute left. He's like, "I'll show you a bleeping minute left," and he starts smashing guitars. And then later he apologized. At
least he apologized.
I was on booze and pills. They said
the understandable excuse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's all you have to do nowadays. Like, it was the booze and the pills. Oh, dude, don't say no more, fam.
Totally different me.
Hey, that's totally cool. He's not going to apologize for this. This won't be blamed on booze and pills. This is him getting brownie points with the left, the MAGA agenda line. Yep. So that was ABC. CNN, listen, CNN, oh my gosh, what they had, I feel like was way worse. Now, their first kiss at midnight was an interracial gay couple making out. Just two dudes going at it. Now, I don't really care if you're gay. I think that's up to you. Biblically, we can have our discussion about it, and I can tell you my views on that if you want to hear them. But I'm sure you can assume what my views are if we're leaning into biblical stuff. But just think about it in the terms of how far we have been pulled left as a nation. I mean, in 2012, Joe Biden was saying that marriage is between a man and a woman. And here we are in 2024 with a gay interracial couple making out as the first kiss on CNN in the new year. Like, that's, all things aside, your personal opinion aside, as a culture, that's how far we have been pulled left. We're not even allowed to have the conversation about whether marriage is between a man and a woman anymore. That is now off the table as a culture. We can't have that discussion. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, it blows my mind that has happened in that short of time. That we used to be able to have a conversation on how should marriage be defined. Personally, I think marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's that. Now, I also don't want to be the guy that says, well, you've been with your partner for X amount of years. You can't be with them on their deathbed. You can't decide to pull the plug. Like, I get those arguments, but define it some other way. That's not marriage. Marriage is between a man and a woman, biblically speaking, of course. But that's where I try to ground myself and build my foundation. And as a nation, I feel like we were better off when we were more grounded in those biblical truths, whereas we've been pulled so far left now that if you stay up with your kids to watch the New Year's ball drop, that's what you get on CNN, the worldwide leader in news. I don't know. I don't like the fact that we've been pulled that far left. But that's the Overton window for you. It is no longer even acceptable to discuss whether marriage should be between a man and a woman, despite the fact that, a little over 10 years ago, our president said marriage was only between a man and a woman. It's just wild when you think about, again, how far we've been pulled left. Speaking of the president, he was also on New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Dick Clark's rocking New Year's Eve. It was rocking all right. Joe Biden looked like he had the makeup from a mortician, and Jill Biden looked like her shoulders were up above her ears. Now, Seacrest, of course, he had to ask the president all of the hard questions on Dick Clark's rockin' New Year's Eve.
I'm curious, what sort of holiday foods have you been enjoying over the last few days?
That's a real question. That's a real question that they asked the president. What have you been eating?
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating pasta, which I love. Eating a lot of chicken Parmesan. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
Okay. Been eating everything and all the ice cream. It kind of makes me frustrated, to be honest with you. That's our resident in chief. What you been eating, sir? Oh, everything. I've been eating everything. Okay. We have fallen as a nation.
As you look back and reflect on 2023, what sort of memories, highlights stand out for you?
Oh, that's a good question. What stands out for you? Well, the White House actually on December 30th posted some of their favorite photos from this year at the White House. That was a Twitter post from the White House account. Now, they posted, Joe smiling with Kamala and Dr. Jill in school with the kids and Joe at the podium. There's normal things. But the real thread were the comments underneath, which, of course, was naked Senate staffers in the hearing rooms, Hunter Biden in his underwear, topless transgenders on the White House lawn. Actual things that happened over the year. Dr. Jill on ladies' night while she was with the cross-dressers with beards. That was a photo that somebody posted. If you didn't see that thread, you should check it out. But what did Joe Biden say were his highlights from 2023? Chinese spy balloon? No, he didn't mention that. All right, let's hear from Joe. What was his highlights from 2023?
Well, one of the big highlights stands out for me is my dad used to have an expression. He'd say, Joey, your job's about a lot more than the paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. So many people through the Midwest and the center of the country, their factories are shipped overseas the last couple of times out, and they were losing hope and faith. So we brought a lot of jobs back to the United States. People are in a position to be able to make a living now, and they've created a lot of jobs, over 14 million. And I guess I just feel good that the American people got up. They've been through a rough time with pandemic, but now we're coming back.
All right, that's we're back. We're back. We've been through a rough time with pandemic.
They've been through a rough time with pandemic.
Been through a rough time with pandemic.
Pandemic, my old friend.
hello, pandemic, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. All right, 2024, right? Where everybody's waiting for the quote-unquote Black Swan event. Is there going to be another pandemic? We've been through a rough time. So then Seacrest moves on. He's like, all right, well, that's your highlights. Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks. Well, how about your hopes for the new year?
Well, we've got 1 million plus people here in Times Square and so many eyes on the big ball for the big moment tonight.
I love that. If you listen to the background, he goes, we got 1 million people here in Times Square, and you can hear Joe go, whoa, because, Joe doesn't draw crowds like that. Joe usually gets them in the tens.
People here in Times Square and so many eyes on the big ball for the big moment tonight as we get ready for 2024. What are your hopes for the new year for both of you?
What are your hopes?
Well, my hope is that everybody has a healthy, happy, and safe new year. But beyond that, I hope that they understand that we're in a better position than any country in the world to lead the world. And we're coming back, and it's about time.
Yeah, all right, we're back. It's about time. Seacrest at this point quickly realizes that's the best we're going to get out of Joe. Move on to Dr. Jill. Move on to Dr. Jill fast.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get in a better position at the beginning of this year.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Listen, we dealt with pandemic.
Yeah.
And now we're back.
We're back.
We're back, baby. All right, so Seacrest realizes that's the best I'm going to get from Joe. Time to move on to Dr. Jill.
Dr. Biden, your hopes for America.
So your hopes for America.
Well, I think it's what I would always tell my students. Be positive, be optimistic, and be kind to one another. Happy New Year.
It's not your hopes for 2024. She answered a question that she thought he was going to ask. So we got the best out of Joe. Let's go to the more put together one in the room, and then she shanks it as well. Shanked it. What are your hopes for 2024?
Be positive, be optimistic, and be kind to one another. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Enjoy 2 scoops of ice cream tonight, both of you. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Oh, 2 scoops of ice cream. All right. This is where we are. Though I don't want you to feel like all is lost. The American people see through Joe Biden. They see through, what's been going on. And the polling numbers prove it. In fact, Biden's polling numbers, according to NBC, are the lowest now for any incumbent in a re-election year ever.
How about the Democratic end of things? Joe Biden seems poised to be the Democratic nominee. What kind of year has he had politically? Well, again, he started 2023 coming off those good midterms for Democrats, and his approval rating, 46-50, wasn't that bad, but it's taken a hit this year. And as we start to close out the year, our final NBC poll had him at just 40% approval, 57% disapproval. How does this compare to past presidents entering their re-election year? Here you can see it. Here's the 40 that we have Biden at right now. These are all the final polls heading into the election year, re-election year that NBC conducted. You just see all the recent presidents. Look, Trump got beat in 2020. He was at 44 heading into his re-election year. Bush Sr. got beat in 92. He was at 52 and heading south rapidly there. But you see how that number compares. That's the lowest. That's the lowest in an NBC poll for an incumbent facing a re-election here.
So he's got the lowest poll numbers. The American people see through it. I feel a little bit optimistic about 2024. I know that they're going to pull out all the stops to make the economy seem good. They're going to do everything they can to lower gas prices so that way voters have recency bias as we head towards the polls. But I think if there's anything that we can lean on as we head towards 2024 is that old Obama quote. never underestimate Joe's ability to bleep things up. So they can try. I don't know if they'll be able to right the ship, at least for their voters. And we're seeing in droves, Hispanics, blacks, young voters, they're out on the Democrats.
Makes sense.
They're out on Joe Biden. Was that the new Kennedy drop? Yeah.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. It is now 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang out with us. It's the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk.
One GOP presidential candidate now being urged to drop out of the race for the benefit of the party. And with the new year comes new laws all across the country and in Tennessee. We'll have those stories for you at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. It is 9:24 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 615-737-9986 is the number to call. I made the comments earlier when we have a gay kiss at midnight on CNN in 2024 and how far the conversation has been moved left. And just 12 years ago, our now president was saying marriage was between a man and a woman. And, I've gotten a lot of response from that, a bunch of texts. And Donovan in Lebanon is on line one. He wants to talk about marriage. You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Donovan?
Hey, thank you, man. Well, the bottom line is, okay, the Democrats are trying to make Christians out to be the evil one here. Christians don't hate gay people. We love all God's children. But the bottom line is there's only one truth.
Yep.
And if you don't repent and change your ways, you're going to hell. And that's our concern. But nobody wants to bring that up. They just want to make us the bad guy that, we have phobia. Well, no, it has nothing to do with phobia. I just hate to see somebody go burn in hell for eternity.
Well, and phobia means that you're afraid of something. I'm not really afraid of anything like that. The only thing I fear is God. But I think that it's so important to point out how the conversation isn't even about the sanctity of marriage anymore. Like we're not even allowed to have that conversation anymore. How much the Overton window has been shifted.
Absolutely. It's scary. Like you said, I don't know where we're going, but we need to fix it.
Hey, I'm with you. Thanks for the call, Donovan. Appreciate you. 615-737-9986. Listen, the fact that the couple is interracial doesn't really matter. I was just painting the scene. But is that what America really wants to see? It's more about the fact that everybody has that crazy uncle who says, watch this, at midnight, there's going to be an interracial gay couple kissing on CNN. And you're like, oh, yeah, all right, he was right. Yep, your crazy uncle nailed it again, years in advance. It's almost predictable that this is what the left is pushing, and that's what you're going to end up seeing. Of course, it's still not as bad as Bill de Blasio and his wife dancing in an empty Times Square during the pandemic. And do you remember them dancing in Times Square? Do you remember that? Because she was wearing a mask that had the triangle on it, which was a FBI declassified pedophile symbol. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was like on her mask. Now, I'm not saying she was wearing that because she's a pedo, but just coincidences, things I notice when that I don't want to be noticing. But sure enough, when Mayor Bill de Blasio and his wife were dancing, yeah, that was on her mask as she was dancing with her husband in an empty Times Square. Strange times, and it seems like it's only getting weirder. I can't be the only one that sees this stuff and feels like it's just getting weirder and weirder as we go down this road. And I, for one, was glad that I didn't, I caught it on Twitter. I didn't watch it live. I'm glad that I didn't have to watch it live. It's not something I really enjoy. So it's just me. 615-737-9986. There's a lot going on, including today. Word on the street is that we're going to see some sort of list from Jeffrey Epstein. Clients, who is going to be on this list? Well, they say that Bill Clinton has been named several times. He is John Doe 36. And, once again, Trump was right. He called out Clinton years ago about this stuff.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
A lot of problems, and it seems like it's only going to get worse for Bill Clinton. But will anything happen to him? Probably not. Probably not. Unfortunately. Like Bill Clinton did, the reports are that he's going to be unmasked in these court documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein. But we all knew he was linked to Jeffrey Epstein. We did. Now the New York Post revealed Sunday that he is John Doe 36. And he's going to be, quote unquote, unmasked. Former president is reportedly named more than 50 times in redacted papers connected to a 2015 lawsuit from one of Epstein's accusers, identified as Virginia Giuffre. We'll have more on that after the news with Jay Harper, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. We are coming up on 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got some sunshine, 39 degrees. A complete forecast is coming up. With the first set of primaries just weeks away, one GOP candidate is receiving blowback from his own party. They're asking him to drop out of the race, saying it would be better for the party in the long run. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie facing growing pressure to drop out of the race. He's been going all in on New Hampshire, but the state's governor, Chris Sununu, calling his campaign a dead end, saying that Nikki Haley has the best shot of defeating Donald Trump in this primary and that he believes Chris Christie could be standing in the way.
With the new year comes new state laws, from guns to minimum wage to inclusion programs. Here's ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce as she addresses the minimum wage.
The federal minimum wage, it hasn't actually been raised in nearly 15 years now, still stuck at $7.25 an hour. But once again, we are seeing states taking matters into their own hands. 22 states are raising their minimum wage. Many workers, that means, will now be making $15 an hour or more.
Back here in Tennessee with the new year, a number of new laws have gone into effect, and many of them are related to crime and public safety. One bill, known as the Eddie Conrad Act, it increases the number of points that can be charged to someone's driving record if they're caught texting while driving. It especially affects people under the age of 18 who will receive 7 points for a second or subsequent offense. That's enough to potentially have their license suspended for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or you can call 615-851-1950.
So look, I want to take a step back for just a moment as we look at 24, and we're in 24, but just a step back, this president has done more in 3 years than any other president has done in 2 terms, and that is important.
Yeah, that is important. That was Karine Jean-Pierre on CNN this morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTM. My name is Chris Hand. Yes, the president, he has done more in 3 years than any other president has done in 2 terms. As we head into 2024, I think it's important to highlight some of President Biden's biggest accomplishments, like historic inflation, his botched Afghanistan withdrawal, record high gas prices in all 50 states, supply chain shortages. How about our strategic petroleum reserve at historic lows? Record personal credit card debt for Americans. So I can keep going. Lowest test scores among K through 12 students in decades. Record homicide rates in a dozen major U.S. cities. There's more. Higher vacation rate than any president in modern history. That is an accomplishment. And he did that in just 3 years. It's amazing. His vacation rate is wild, actually.
He's got to make a splash somehow because he's not doing it with his policies.
Yeah, he's making a splash in the beach. Listen, he spent 37% of 2023 enjoying a getaway spot.
I wish I had that luxury.
37%. He has a better off-day rate than our own Mac Maury. Listen, so this is from Breitbart. President Joe Biden escaped the confines of the White House and the travails of the high office for a host of other diversions in 2023, spending more than a third of the past year at a getaway spot, a report from the New York Post on Monday detailed. According to the Post, Biden could be found on his absences from Washington, D.C. at either one of his Delaware residences, a posh vacation site, or Camp David. That's from a review of public records by the outlet. He just spends a lot of time on vacation. 138 days in 2023. 37% of the time. 138 days away from work. It's got to be nice. He spent 22 days, including travel time, on official vacation in all in 2023. He was either at his Delaware home, St. Croix, Lake Tahoe, or Nantucket. He was at Camp David 26 days, not including the 2 days he was prepping and getting ready for a trilateral summit. And Biden's number of getaway days in 2023 was only slightly down from 2022, when he spent more than 38% of the year at the same locations. It's got to be nice. It's got to be nice. It's a tough gig. Tough gig. But yes, Karine Jean-Pierre, what he's done has been historic. And as we head into 2024, listen, we have Joe doing Joe things. But on the flip side, we have 13 days until Iowa. 13. Are you excited? Ron DeSantis held a New Year's Eve rally. Donald Trump is planning a final 2-week blitz. DeSantis, did you see the video of him going around a bar in Iowa?
Oh, no, I haven't yet.
So it was during I think it was during the Iowa-Tennessee game. Was it? Did they play? They played Iowa, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up.
I have to double check. There was a bunch of games, so I'm not the big sports guy. If Mac was here, he would know. And
he's the one on top of it.
He's rolling over in his hammock right now.
Yeah, Tennessee beat Iowa in the Citrus Bowl 35-0.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so there's a video of DeSantis going around a bar in Iowa during the game. And I tell you what, nobody in that bar cared that DeSantis was in there.
Oh, absolutely not, especially if that's how the game was going. I would be fully invested trying to focus on something else.
But could you imagine if Trump walked in there?
Different story.
Different story altogether.
Absolutely.
Now, my wife made the joke. She said, well, maybe they didn't notice him because he's a short guy and he wasn't wearing his lifts. That's what my wife said. Get
his platforms on.
Get a based wife. But, listen, I don't think DeSantis has any chance in Iowa. They are positioning Nikki Haley to say that she has a chance. I don't believe it. A lot of people are making the point that she should be VP, and I don't like that idea at all. Now, I do think that they're going to try and position Haley so that way when she loses, they're going to try and take her loss and market it as a win and make it seem like it was a lot closer than it was. Try to like gin up support for her that way. But Trump is blowing away the GOP field. He has more than a 50-point lead. Haley ties DeSantis for second place. This is according to Real Clear polling. They conducted during the month of December this latest poll, and Trump is by far the leader. He has 62.5%. DeSantis and Haley sit over 50 points behind the former president with 11.2% support. The average was taken of polls conducted between December 4th and December 29th. Polls taken into this average include Reuters and Ipsos, Morning Consult, Quinnipiac, which shows DeSantis and Haley tied for second place with 11% support. Now, Haley does have a lead in Iowa, but I don't think Haley would have drawn much more attention than Ron in that crowd during the Iowa football game either. Now, some of these polls show Haley taking second place, with a USA Today Suffolk poll showing DeSantis behind Haley by 3 points. Rasmussen reports poll shows DeSantis down by 4 points. Yada, yada, yada. They're going to try and position Nikki Haley as the number 2 behind Trump. And then, guys like Steve Bannon are talking and saying, come spring, there's going to be this big push for Haley to be the VP. I don't like that at all. I don't. With all the talk of, what do they do after they can't get Trump off the ballot? They've removed him in Maine, which we'll get into in a little bit. But if you put an establishment person like Haley behind Trump, well, then those fears of a Trump assassination attempt come full front, and a lot of people are going there. Of course they'll try to, Steve Bannon said, of course they'll try to take a shot at Trump if Haley's the VP, because then you get Haley in the seat, and Haley is absolutely controlled. She's big neocon. She has the ties with the military-industrial complex. And I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. I don't. I think she has the charisma of a wet blanket. And I think the only reason that she's even doing anything right now is because she's being propped up by all these people, including, guys like Governor Chris Sununu out of New Hampshire. Now, Sununu was on State of the Union over the weekend, and he starts out, and I'm like, oh, okay, he seems pretty, on the nose. He's talking about Trump being removed from the ballot, and he's like, he shouldn't be removed from the ballot. He actually goes in and defends Trump. Says Trump should be on the ballot in Maine.
Governor, I want to, first of all, Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on. I want to start with what happened in your neighboring state of Maine. The Secretary of State there said it was her duty to remove Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot because he engaged in an insurrection. You have been very critical of Trump's actions on January 6th. What do you make of that decision?
Look, if there was any validity about keeping Trump off a ballot, you'd see 48 other states trying to do the same thing. Personally, I think this was very politically motivated by the Maine Secretary of State. Trump should be on the ballot. Everybody understands that. This is a politician who I think has political aspirations down the road and trying to make a little bit of a name for herself. Everybody just hopes that the U.S. Supreme Court gets involved, overturns what Maine and Colorado are trying to do, make sure Trump's on the ballot in 50 states, and we move on.
Yeah, and he's back on the ballot in Colorado. It will get overturned in Maine. There's no real way that this stands. And Governor Sununu basically says as much. And I was like, all right, cool. Governor Sununu's on record. He's a Haley Republican. He's a never Trumper. But he continues on CNN's State of the Union.
Do you agree with some of the Republicans, even Chris Christie, for example, who argue that taking him off the ballot, or at least trying to, makes Donald Trump a martyr?
Of course. No, Donald Trump has played this victim card wonderfully over the past year. Nothing on policy, nothing on the future of America, but being, that victimization thing, which is the irony there is just incredible, frankly.
Oh, yes, Donald Trump is playing the victim card as he's being indicted, nonstop by everyone. They've been going after him nonstop since 2016. But yes, Donald Trump is playing the victim card. Okay. Thanks, Governor.
But yes, this would only boost his opportunity to play that victim card down the road as we hit the primaries. It's not helpful at all, and I just don't think it's right. I think, again, the U.S. Supreme Court will likely overturn both of these challenges, and we can all move on with him on the ballot on all 50 states.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court will likely overturn it, but then, Governor Sununu has to jump the shark.
So Nikki Haley can beat him in all 50 states.
Yeah, okay. It's not going to happen. But they will do whatever they can to get her as close to Trump as they can in Iowa and in New Hampshire. So that way they can say, see, she's gaining momentum. And then when they say, see, she's gaining momentum, they're going to gin up all this talk that it's a real race between Trump and Haley, which it's not. This is what the media will do. They'll manipulate what's happening, just like they did. Listen, this is what they did during the midterms. It always drove me nuts. During the 22 midterms, they pumped up the polls. Red wave's coming. Red wave, red wave. And then when we didn't win as large as we thought we were going to win, it was a loss. And they're going to use that same technique with Trump. Trump is going to win in Iowa. Trump is going to win in New Hampshire. But if he doesn't win by as large of margins as they thought, they're going to use that win and they're going to manipulate it into a loss. This is what the media does. If they can't beat him, they're going to taint his victory. And I've long said, in 22, should it have been a bigger win? Yes, it should have. The midterms should have been a bigger win. But they took our victories when we gained seats, we took back the House, and they made our victories a loss. And it's a demoralization tactic. I don't like that, but that's what they're going to do with Haley. They're going to get her as close as they can to Trump, and then they're going to say, see, look at this. It's a real race. Nikki Haley's surging. It is fabricated. It's fabricated, and I don't buy it for a second. And then come springtime, there's going to be the conversation of Nikki Haley should be VP. Nikki Haley will unite the party. Nikki Haley will bring in the never-Trumpers, and I'm sorry. I don't like it at all. I want the VP choice to be somebody that the establishment hates almost as much, if not more, than Trump, personally. That's my hope and dreams. Is that Tucker Carlson? In a perfect world, I hope it is. Because I don't know another VP that could get the kind of excitement that Tucker could get. Seriously, I don't. Is there another VP that could get people as rallied around Trump as Tucker? Maybe Vivek. Maybe. But Tucker would be the one, man. Nikki Haley? Yawn. Dick Cheney and heels, right? Isn't that what Vivek said? Dick Cheney and heels. And it would be. If you had Nikki Haley as VP for Trump, that's Dick Cheney to Bush. Not a good look. Not something I'm a fan of. Hang out with us. It's 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The pilots of a Japanese commercial airliner involved in a fiery crash are being called heroes today. And with just weeks remaining until the Iowa GOP caucuses, candidates are crisscrossing the state in an effort to erode support for the frontrunner. Of course, that would be one Donald Trump. Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. It is 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Got a text here. Chris, why do you want the Dems to win so bad? Tucker and Trump cannot get elected. You may want someone who can flip over tables and scream at all the bad seeds, but if they can't get elected, then it doesn't matter. You get more of the terrible seeds. Nikki is not a bad seed. She's simply not as vicious as you want a politician to be. In addition, Trump is a moderate. That's from 4049. Listen, 4049, I don't want old school Republican neocon warhawks. And that's what Nikki Haley is. Vivek blasted her in the debate. She wants to send your sons and daughters over to Ukraine and she can't name 3 provinces. But did she have an answer? No. But she wants to send more money over there. I don't know what you want from me. I got another text from 4200. If you're so convinced Trump will win, why are you nonstop attacking 2 politicians Trump is either backed for elected office and or appointed to high office? I said they're both awful. Chris. Also, both of them said that they wouldn't run against Trump, and then they decided to do so. And in DeSantis's case, he would have had a clear path in 2028 had he just waited and been patient. But he started to like the smell of his own farts. He believed the donor class, and he went for it. And he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. He has no charisma, no energy. And if you want to talk about somebody that has no chance of being elected, and people will tell me, oh, it's not about charisma, it's not about energy. I'm sorry. In a general election, in national politics, charisma and energy is a big part of it. That's why Obama got elected on awful policy and then reelected. Charisma and energy. That's going to get your low information voters linked up and moving along in the right direction. Charisma and energy. And I'm sorry, you can say that, oh, Trump is unelectable. But listen, young voters like him, black voters like him, Hispanic voters like him. Do you think that Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis could go into Chicago and gain the kind of support in the black community that Donald Trump can? Do you? If you think so, I have a bridge for you in San Francisco for sale. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's Jay Harper with the news.
Yes, it is exactly 10 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine, 39 degrees in Music City. A full forecast is on the way. The pilots on board Japan Airlines Flight 516 are being hailed as heroes today after they managed to safely evacuate 379 passengers and crew from their aircraft when the jet burst into flames after colliding with a Coast Guard plane while landing at Tokyo Airport. ABC News contributor and former Marine Corps fighter pilot Colonel Steve Ganyard says the 2-year-old aircraft is specially equipped to be stronger than its older counterparts, which likely contributed to the success of that evacuation effort.
The A350 is an extraordinary airplane. This is the first hull loss ever. It's very strong. If you look at some of the ways that you see the burn patterns, you see that it's made of carbon fiber. It's not made of metal like the 787 is. It's very, very strong. It's stronger than most metals that are used in older aircraft. So the airplane did its job here.
With just a few weeks until the Iowa caucuses, GOP presidential hopefuls this weekend furiously crisscrossing the state, hoping to angle one more boost in support before the big day to challenge current GOP favorite Donald Trump on the national stage. ABC's Rachel Scott, she's in Des Moines with the latest.
Former President Donald Trump entering the new year still holding that commanding lead, 30 points ahead of his rivals here in Iowa, 50 points nationally. The rest of the field still hoping for a breakthrough. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has bet big on Iowa. He's visited all 99 counties in the state, even holding a New Year's Eve rally, but he's been losing ground to former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She's now neck and neck with him right here in Iowa.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
.10:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, back after quite a bit of time off. Happy New Year if you're just tuning in. 2024, man, it's going to be a wild year. I'm excited. I'm already making the fans of Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis mad at me.
Firing up for the new year.
It didn't take long.
Nah.
It didn't take long. You know, I made the comment that charisma and energy is a real thing, and that's going to get people elected. And I don't think Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis has any of that. 0397 text in said, many low-info voters elected Bill Clinton because he played a saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. Charisma is a thing. Yeah, nailed it. Got a text here from our friend Carl. He said, Chris, Nikki Haley will only hurt Trump's chances of winning. He don't need her as a running partner. I'm with you. 4295 said Nikki looks like a dude. I don't know where that came from. My wife said she has boss mom hair. So, to each their own.
What is the definition of boss mom hair?
I think if you look at a picture of Nikki Haley and you see the hair, I mean, it is boss.
That's fair enough.
Boss mom hair. Also, I didn't like how Nikki Haley was like, how dare you bring my daughter into this, my adult 25-year-old daughter. Then let me bring my daughter on an interview to just besmirch Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know. Listen, I think Trump is the only choice. And honestly, the left knows that Trump is the only choice. That's why they're attacking him so hard. And in fact, he's been removed from the ballot in Maine because of, inciting an insurrection.
We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
What an insurrectionist. So that was Trump when he incited an insurrection. You know, the crime he's never been found guilty of because he didn't do it. That was feds in the crowd, Ray Epps and the like. But you know that. I don't need to explain that to you. However, we do apparently need to explain it to Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. This lady, she seems like a piece of work. If you look at her and you hear her talk, she looks like a wine-aunt. You know, like the type of person with, you know, well, first of all, she lives the dink lifestyle, the dink. Double income, no kids. Her and her husband, they're bought in. They're career people. And she looks like she bought into feminism way too hard. No kids. Didn't even take her husband's last name. Just hardcore radical feminist. Born and raised in liberal New England. Listen, I also was born and raised in liberal New England, and by the grace of God, I avoided the indoctrination. And let me tell you something. When you go to government schools in New England, it is indoctrination. Ever so subtly, and then a lot when you get to high school. But this lady, she couldn't overcome the programming. She went to college in Vermont, and I know so many women like this from back home where I grew up in New England and in Massachusetts. Many such cases. She has a hard case of TDS. And who is this Shenna Bellows? Forbes had an interesting write-up on her. And key facts. Let's go through the key facts of who is Shenna Bellows, the Maine Secretary of State who removed Trump from the ballot. Well, she's served as Maine Secretary of State since 2021, and she was elected by the state's legislature, not directly by voters. Prior to becoming Secretary of State, she served as a state lawmaker in Maine, and she unsuccessfully ran against Senator Susan Collins, a quote-unquote Republican in Maine, for U.S. Senate in 2014. She's a loser. It's on record, verified, loser. She previously served as the executive director of Maine's ACLU chapter, ran a nonprofit consulting business, and led the Holocaust and Human Rights Center of Maine. She's made comments against Trump on social media in the past, including saying she was disappointed he wasn't removed from office after January 6, 2021, which she called, and I quote, an unlawful attempt to overthrow the results of a free and fair election and a violent insurrection. Yes, this was him, the violent insurrectionist.
We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Yeah, he's an insurrectionist. We can't keep letting him get away with it. So she hates Trump. She just does. I mean, I have tweets from February of 21. The January 6th insurrection was an unlawful attempt to overthrow the results of a free and fair election. Today, 57 senators, including King and Collins, found Trump guilty. That's short of impeachment, but nevertheless an indictment. The insurrectionists failed, and democracy prevailed. Not saying not disappointed. He should have been impeached. But history will not treat him or those who voted against impeachment kindly. This is Shenna Bellows. She is motivated by her TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. She's got the woke mind virus, y'all. There's no way around it. And you can look at Shenna Bellows and see that she has the woke mind virus. It's just written all over her. She bought in too hard. And she's got pictures with Obama, pictures with Biden. She loves the liberal leftists. And that's what she wants to do. So she's looking for her moment in the sun. This is her chance to make a name for herself. Because she can't make a name for herself any other way. She's lost every time she tried. So let's hear from her. on her decision to remove Trump from the ballot. She was making the media rounds and giving her side of the story.
What's your response to the suggestion this was made due to your political affiliation and that according to Trump's office, it will disenfranchise voters?
My duty under the Constitution and Maine law is to review the facts and issue a determination. And my political affiliation, my personal views of January 6, 2021, had no bearing on my decision. My decision was based on the facts, the law, and the Constitution presented to me in this hearing under Maine law.
Oh, yeah. It had nothing to do with my political affiliation. Had nothing to do with my raging TDS. Unbelievable. The Trump campaign slammed this ruling of 2024 ballot ineligibility as a partisan election interference by a virulent leftist and a hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat. Yep. Pretty much on the nose. Maine Democrat Secretary of State Shanna Bellows determined on Thursday that former President Donald Trump was ineligible to appear on the state's ballot. Bellows' decision will not be final until the Supreme Court weighs in on the state ruling. She disqualified Trump based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment Insurrection Clause. He wasn't found guilty of any of this. It's ridiculous. The Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung said Thursday in a statement, the Maine Secretary of State is a former ACLU attorney and a hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat who has decided to interfere in the presidential election on behalf of crooked Joe Biden. We will quickly file a legal objection in state court to prevent this atrocious decision in Maine from taking effect, and President Trump will never stop fighting to make America great again. State courts in Michigan and Minnesota have rejected these bad faith, bogus 14th Amendment challenges, and as federal courts in New Hampshire, Arizona, Florida, Rhode Island, West Virginia, along with 10 other federal jurisdictions. He added, we are witnessing in real time the attempted theft of an election and the disenfranchisement of the American voter. Democrats in blue states are recklessly and unconstitutionally suspending the civil rights of the American voters by attempting to summarily remove President Trump's name from the ballot. Make no mistake, these partisan election interference efforts are a hostile assault on American democracy. Biden and the Democrats simply do not trust the American voter in a free and fair election and are now relying on the force of government institutions to protect their grip on power. And they are. They have to, because now they can't rely on big tech to suppress these stories. They can't rely on big tech to hide the skeletons in the closet of the Biden administration. So they have to do whatever they can to keep Trump off the ballot. Shanna Bellows, she goes on. She's on MSNBC this time. She's like, I had to make sure candidates were qualified to be on the ballot.
So I was duty bound to follow Maine law to ensure that candidates, all the candidates who appear on the primary ballot, are qualified for the office they seek.
Oh, yeah, it's her duty. It's her duty to make sure these candidates are qualified. The guy that held the office of the president is no longer qualified in the eyes of the Maine Secretary of State. It is her job. Nice. This is what happens when we have the woke mind virus infecting the wine-aunt class of politics. And these leftist liberal women are just some of the worst. No kids, nothing else going for her. She loses every race she's in. And the only reason she's Secretary of State in Maine is because of the state legislature, not because she was voted by the people to be there. Nice. This is what we're dealing with. And when they tell you, we should let Nikki Haley be the VP, it's like, no. Nikki Haley is supported by this same uniparty establishment that is trying to get Trump off the ballot in these states. I'm over this stuff. And then she wouldn't. The other thing is, you look at her Facebook page. So apparently she was swatted. Allegedly she was swatted, which is when they call a fake burglary or they'll make a fake call to try and get the SWAT team to your house. So she was swatted, and they call her. Oh, you're so brave and courageous for standing up for the truth and doing all these things. she's not brave and courageous for doing this. In fact, she's so weak and spineless, she wasn't even the first one to do this. She waited until somebody else said it was okay. This woman is lousy. Lousy. I'm not a fan. I don't know. Did I make that clear that I'm not a fan of Shayna Bellows? Go on record there. Just want any confusion.
Yeah, I think that's pretty set in stone at this point.
You think
just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, not impressed. Not impressed with Shayna Bellows. But again, I know so many people like this. And, people I would have called friends from back home, maybe a decade ago. They're just, these women are so woke. She's been ruined by feminism. She's been ruined by leftist agenda. And that's all she has left. That's all she has left. She's going to put it on her headstone. Remove Trump from the ballot. This is her crowning achievement. This is her moment in the sun. And she's looking to make a career off of this. That's what she wants to do. Jamie Raskin, another Democrat shill, actually defended removing Trump from the ballot.
You are ranking Democrat in the Oversight Committee. Your chairman is asking the White House for any documents.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. This one right here.
I think that the urgency is for the Supreme Court to act, but I think it's going to be tough for some of them if they want to keep Trump on the ballot, if they're falling for the argument that this is undemocratic. I mean, is it undemocratic that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jennifer Granholm can't run for president?
Yes, they're not U.S. citizens. That's how it works. That's his argument. That's his argument.
That this is undemocratic. I mean, is it undemocratic that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jennifer Granholm can't run for president because they weren't born in the country?
Yes.
If you think about it, of all the forms of disqualification we have, the one that disqualifies people for engaging in insurrection is the most democratic.
Oh. My mistake. This is the most democratic. This not let people vote for him at all is actually, as it turns out, it's the most democratic because, as he pointed out, Arnold Schwarzenegger can't run for president because he's not a U.S. citizen. So, there you I listen, I might have to change my mind. Jamie Raskin. Wow. Deep thoughts with Jamie Raskin. It's the most democratic.
Is the most democratic.
It's the most democratic. Removing Trump from the ballot. Yeah, in this interview on CNN, Jamie Raskin also defended the Biden administration. And, as he says, Trump being removed from the ballot is the most democratic. He defended the Biden administration by saying, well, guys, orange man bad.
You are ranking Democrat in the Oversight Committee. Your chairman is asking the White House for any documents that President Biden played a role in his son Hunter's decision to defy a subpoena from the Republicans on your committee. They point to the White House press secretary saying that the president was, quote, certainly familiar with what his son was going to say. Should the White House comply?
The White House has been complying, unlike, of course, the Trump White House. The Biden.
There it is. Unlike the Trump White House, orange man bad, mind you. And this is not, he'll continue to say orange man bad.
Complying, unlike, of course, the Trump White House. The Biden White House has been complying all along. And we have looked at, for 11 months now, thousands and thousands of documents. We've had testimony from all kinds of people in the government, Treasury, IRS, you name it.
So they should comply.
They don't have anything on Joe Biden. So I assume they should continue to participate in the charade because the Biden administration is a law-abiding administration, unlike the Trump administration.
Unlike the Trump administration. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Everybody got that? So removing Trump from the ballot is the most democratic. And, the Biden administration is the most democratic and most compliant, unlike the Trump administration. All right. Good to know. 1021 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. Listen, if you don't have a financial plan for your future, 2024 is the year to get that in order. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a financial plan for my future until I linked up with Paul and his team. And as a husband and a father to 4, I was lacking in that department. And that's no mistake but my own. But I made the right choice to link up with Paul and his team and get that fixed. Now, when you're thinking about paying for weddings, maybe college down the road, and retirement, it's a tall order. Now, I was a listener of Paul's radio show since I moved to Nashville in 2016. And when I got to meet Paul and realize he's the same guy that I heard on the air, smart, honest, legit, that's when I decided to be all in. And Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. And because of that standard, government regulators require that I tell you I'm paid every time this commercial airs. And that's the truth. But when I got to sit down with Paul and break bread and have my questions answered honestly, that's when I decided to become a client. I'm impressed with Paul. He's a smart guy, and he knows the financial world better than I do, and he can break it down for a guy like me to understand. You know, you hear a lot of stuff out there in the ether. You read a lot of different things, but you need somebody that lives in that world every day to really break it down for you, honestly, because you can read one thing and believe one thing, but until you have a guy that's done it day in and day out for years, you don't really know what you're talking about. And I was a victim of that as well. But after sitting down with Paul and his team, I've learned a lot. One of the things I love about Paul and his team is nothing is done on commission. I'll say it again, and I say it a lot. Nothing is done on commission. So you can be sure with Paul and his team, when they're giving you advice for your financial future, it is for your financial future. It's not for a big commission check at the end of the month because nothing is done on commission. However, they are big on that education, and he's made my financial goals far more realistic by explaining what to do and why. And the investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. So if you don't have a financial plan, check out Paul Winkler. Every single office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and that experience is the difference. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Authorities in Colorado arresting a man after he broke into the Colorado Supreme Court overnight. We'll tell you what that's all about. Also, a favorite Nashville night spot? Well, it's going to be closing its doors. In fact, it already has. It's been around for 30 years. We'll tell you what's up with that. So that's all coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 10:25, January 2nd. 2024. It's a year check. Learned that from Dan Mandich this morning. You need to do the time check, then there's a year check.
I guess, yeah, because it's so fresh in everybody's minds.
Super dope.
Gotta love it.
You gotta love it. I'm getting texts about Shayna Bellows. You guys crack me up. Jeremy said, so you're saying she's a listless vessel, Chris? Yes, pretty much. 9630 said, that lady has mass shooter eyes. I'm trying to find a picture of her. Does she have mass shooter eyes? Would you say that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm trying to look up a picture of her right now.
So like the mass shooter eyes when you see like too much white around the eye. You know what I mean? There's different things that you can see about people's eyes that like warn you that they're nuts. Like if you look at what's his name? Dylan Roof from the church shooting. Like he had those crazy eyes.
Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah. And then the guy that shot up the movie theater, the Batman movie shooter. He had those crazy eyes. So that's what they're saying, that she has.
Yeah, wasn't he also dressed as the Joker, too?
Was he? I know he had orange hair.
He was dressed up in something.
I don't know. There's a couple pictures where she looks like she has crazy eyes. But, I mean, every picture, she just kind of looks crazy in general. I don't know. 9495 text in said, the timing of these removals of Trump from ballots make it clear what it really is. They could have made the same claims months ago, but they wait until now. Wonder why? Well, because the indictments didn't work. The indictments helped his polling, and they thought that would be the route to get Trump, down in the polls, that would be the way to get him out of the way, and it didn't work. It didn't work because we all saw through it, just like we're all seeing through this. So, they will continue to try and do this. Now, I got a text from 1833. Chris, if they get by with taking Trump off the ballot, do you believe any Republican will ever have a chance again? Well, this is a big point. Will any Republican have a chance if they could get by with taking Trump off the ballot? A, they're not going to get by. We have the Supreme Court that is going to absolutely shut it down. But, let's play devil's advocate. Say they got by. Would any Republican ever have a chance again? Well, not the kind we want. Maybe a Nikki Haley would have a chance, but I don't know. The other thing about, and I don't mean to go off on a tirade about Nikki Haley, but I will say this to the people that say, "Oh, we need a female for vice president." It's like, do we though? Do we? Like, as far as Republicans go, we're the party that doesn't really care about the identity politics. Does it matter that we, the left will always be like, well, we got to get a woman of color in there because that's what we need to do to show that we're diverse and, diversity is our strength. I feel like the Republicans are the party of meritocracy. So if a woman is the best choice for the job, if it's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, like, cool, I'm with it. But if they go Josh Hawley, cool, I'm with it. I would prefer Tucker Carlson, though, I mean, that's probably a pipe dream. That's probably just like a dream scenario for me. But a guy like Josh Hawley would be great. Sarah Huckabee Sanders would be great. I don't really care about the gender. I care about the policies. And Dick Cheney and heels, not what I'm looking for. I got another text over here. Oh, where'd it go? Man, you guys are texting so much, and I appreciate it. 615-737-9986. Chris, you can dislike a person's politics and decisions without reducing them to worthless. No need to attack Shayna Bellows on such a personal level as to say she has nothing going for her except TDS. Being a dink is not a crime. Double income, no kids, dink lifestyle. I don't know. It seems like so many on the left want to control the future, and yet they have no stake in it. They have no stake in it. They have no dog in the race. So it bothers me that she is a radical feminist dink who wouldn't even take her husband's last name. That's just me. 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 10:30 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a full forecast for you here in just a little bit. Currently, it's mostly sunny and 40 degrees. Authorities in Colorado arresting a man after he broke into the Colorado State Supreme Court overnight. A statement from the state patrol says the incident is not associated to the recent threats against the state Supreme Court justices. Here's Jim Ryan.
Just after 1 a.m, long before the place had opened for the day, a man broke into the Colorado State Supreme Court building and fired several gunshots. The suspect also is thought to have lit a fire in a stairwell. He did shoot at police, who did not shoot back, before he was arrested.
A favorite night spot among Nashvillians and tourists since 1994, the Wild Horse Saloon. It's closed its doors, the venue announcing that on social media. In April of last year, it was announced that hitmaker Luke Combs had partnered with Opry Entertainment Group that owns the property to rebrand the venue as a 4-story honky tonk. The bar still is going to feature a large dance floor for that line dancing, a concert hall, a bar for legalized sports betting, and an indoor-outdoor rooftop. The Luke Combs venue is expected to open later on this year. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open.
The border is secure. The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else.
All right, good to know. 10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So as we move into 2024, the issue is the border. Now, there's been a lot of stories globally. I mean, in just 2 days, it's been wild in 2024 already. Got the earthquake in Japan. You got Ethiopia no longer being landlocked. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting story. You got the South Korean opposition leader of the opposition party getting stabbed. Crazy. But still, to me, The biggest story is our lack of border security. And what does the border look like in 2024 under Joe Biden? Does it get better? Probably not. Probably not. In fact, it probably gets a lot worse because time's running out on the clock. People that are paying attention go, hey, this could all change very, very soon. So we should make a mad dash for it now. Now we had record numbers come in December. Record numbers. But what does the border look like in 2024? Well, former ICE Director Jonathan Fahey had this to say on Fox.
I think it's going to be more of the same or, in fact, worse. You have that 300,000 number, but that doesn't even count the gotaways and the known gotaways, which, typically that could be 60 to 70,000 a month. But I think, people, when they're looking at this, they know once they get here, they get to stay. They also are going to know that there's an election coming up and things might change. So I think the incentive is going to be tremendous for this year for people to come here. The cartels know it. The human smugglers know it. So this year will be more of the same. And this administration isn't planning on doing anything about it. There's plenty they can do, but they're unwilling to, buck their party on this issue. And you see all the problems in New York and Chicago, but they're going to remain, and they'll try to make a political issue and say they're trying to do something about it with comprehensive immigration reform and these other things. But those really just amount to amnesty when you really break those things down with what they're actually seeking to have done.
It really breaks down to amnesty. That's what they want. But it's going to get worse. And I mean, you saw over Christmas weekend, 29,000 illegal aliens were apprehended over Christmas weekend. So while you were enjoying, opening gifts with your family and, celebrating Jesus, Border Patrol agents were busy processing, transporting, caring for, and then, releasing 29,000 illegal aliens that pushed across the border by human smuggling cartels. That's what they were doing over Christmas weekend. Border Patrol agents assigned to the 9 Southwest Border Patrol sectors apprehended at least 29,000 illegal aliens who crossed the border between ports of entry between December 22nd and 25th. That's according to unofficial Border Patrol reports obtained by Breitbart, Texas. On Thursday, December 21st, agents had apprehended at least 9,000 more migrants. This brought the total for the last 5 days to 38,000. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's wide open. They'll tell you it's not. They'll tell you it's secure. But, don't believe what you hear. Look with your own eyes. There's videos all over the internet. The border is wide open. December beat the record for most illegals entering of all time. All time. Is this what KJP was talking about when she said, Biden's done more in 3 years than some presidents have done in two terms?
Look, I want to take a step back for just a moment as we look at 24, and we're in 24, but just a step back. This president has done more in 3 years than any other president has done in 2 terms, and that is important.
Yeah, it's important to point out more for everyone except the American citizens. Customs and Border Patrol agents revealed that over 276,000 illegal aliens crossed the U.S.-Mexico border in December. Sets the record for most ever. The previous record was also set by the Joe Biden administration in September of 2023, which was a little bit over 269,000. It's just crazy. So record-breaking numbers from the Joe Biden administration. Now, when we see Trump being removed from the ballot, can somebody step up and say Joe Biden should be removed from the ballot because this is all treasonous what he's doing down at the border? Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas should have been impeached for this. In fact, I remember doing a show a year ago where Kevin McCarthy said when he gets in as Speaker of the House that day one we're going to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas. That's day one. Still waiting. Republicans, right? Do they have any fight in them? I mean, no, they don't. Spoiler alert. There's no fight in the Republican Party. It's crazy, though. It's crazy. Like, we can get mad about it, but like, it's not going to change anything. That nothing is going to change under this administration. And then you see stuff where even in these blue cities, they're completely over it. You know, the mayor of New York won't be called racist for not allowing these buses to drop off illegal aliens in his city. But, you know, you and I are called racist for wanting the border closed. And the mayor of New York, he's turned these buses around. And then the buses have kind of worked around it, and they've been dropping them off in New Jersey and saying, take the train in. You know, it's a problem now in these blue cities because it's the blue cities' problem. But, you know, they're saying in New York and in New Jersey, there's a Democrat mayor saying we're turning away migrant buses because it's a major security risk. Yeah, it is. While speaking to a New York ABC affiliate on Monday, New Jersey Mayor Sam Joshi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, stated that he turned away a bus of illegal aliens sent to the city. He turned them back because local police did not know if any of those 40 individuals were carrying weapons and they couldn't be identified, stating this is a major security risk, it's a health risk, and we're not going to tolerate that. You know, it's funny, when we saw this happening at the Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix after Turning Point USA's America Fest, as I was flying back, I saw firsthand, you know, they're carrying boarding passes that say no name given. You know, we, as conservatives, we say the same thing. This is a major security risk. It's a health risk. We're told to shut up. The major Mockingbird media doesn't even cover it. Did you see anything about the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport on your local ABC affiliate, NBC? Did you see it on the NBC Nightly News? No, of course not. But the government's flying these people around, and then they're mad when Governor Abbott sends these illegal aliens to New York City. So you can't make it a blue city's problem. How dare you? How dare you? That's supposed to be conservative states' problems. It's crazy. But it's predictable, right? It's very predictable. But this is what we're dealing with. And in Chicago, their mayor, Brandon Johnson, he called Greg Abbott, he likened Greg Abbott to Jefferson Davis. This is what they're doing now. Jefferson Davis, the racist Democrat, mind you.
What is very clear is that not only are we providing mental health related services as well as vaccinations and health screenings and providing medical health care for these families when they arrive, the moment they get off those buses, we're not seeing that same treatment at the border. In other words, there's no health screenings, no vaccinations. That process at the border is absolutely raggedy and reckless. But we cannot have a governor who decides that he's going to cling to the vestiges of Jefferson Davis when we should be pulling to the hopes and aspirations that were left by Frederick Douglass. We have to have a coordinated response to this humanitarian crisis. We cannot allow chaos to dictate and to divide this country.
Yeah, well, you know, when he claims that they're not doing this at the border, vaccinating and health screening and mental health checks, that's the federal government. You know, Greg Abbott has been doing everything he can to stop people from crossing the border. The federal government has been using forklifts to raise the razor wire to let them in. So when he says, we can't have a governor who decides he's going to cling to the vestiges of Jefferson Davis, leftist talking points. Jefferson Davis, a Democrat, mind you. Got to be more like Frederick Douglass. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brandon Johnson in New York. Now, it's not just, Chicago, but it's not just New York who is, saying this is a problem, or Mayor Brandon Johnson, Chicago, saying it's a problem. It's a problem in so many states. However, California is taking a different approach in the new year for the illegal alien crisis. They're not They're not calling Greg Abbott racist or trying to send these people back or saying we can't afford it. No, they've actually said, you know what? Free health care.
Also, starting January 1st, California will become the first state in the nation to offer health insurance to undocumented immigrants.
Under the expansion, more than 700,000 people between the ages of 26 and 49 will be eligible for Medi-Cal.
Ooh, Medi-Cal for 700,000 undocumented citizens. Wow, first state in the nation. They tell us this is a big win. That they'll tout how tolerant they are. But this isn't a big win. They're going to see their taxes go up in California. And you know who's really going to feel that is Tennessee when more Californians flee and our property prices go up and it becomes more unaffordable for Tennesseans. We're going to feel that. But they'll tell us, guys, no, this is great. This is a big win. Free health care for illegal aliens in California. It's a huge win.
Immigrant rights advocates call the expansion of health care for undocumented immigrants a major milestone in California.
This is a really major step in California.
Advocates for immigrant rights are celebrating a monumental victory in the fight for more inclusive health care.
I'm so grateful again. I think it's really, really important to think about how big of a precedent this is for the entire nation.
I think it's important to think about how big of a precedent this is for the entire nation as well. The person talking there was a DACA recipient, describing how big it is. Such a big win. We're giving our resources out to illegal aliens. We have homeless veterans in this country. We have American citizens living in squalor. We have American citizens without clean running water. Yet we're supposed to celebrate this win? Is that what we're supposed to do? Oh, California. It's a big win. Think about the precedent. Free health care for illegals. And the DACA recipient has more to say.
A lot of undocumented people and, a lot of low-income people, because they don't have access to these resources, they wait until the very end to hopefully receive some care. And by then it's too late. And we shouldn't have to have people, waiting until they're feeling ill to go to the doctor. We should have preventative care. And that's why this is so important.
I have friends in Canada, and you guys will make the jokes. I'm Canadian. Yep, you got it. But the fact that she's saying, whoa, we got to have free health care, and, we can't have people waiting for this. I'm sorry, guys. If you have free health care, waiting is part of the deal. You can't do anything in a nation with free health care like Canada without waiting and waiting and waiting. That's baked in. So when they say, we shouldn't have people waiting, free health care, that's part of the deal. Waiting.
Those who are eligible will be able to qualify for Medi-Cal, the state's health insurance program for low-income individuals. Medi-Cal offers access to primary and preventative care, specialists, prescription medicine, and more.
Wow. So progressive, so helpful. This is what they're doing. Free health care for illegal aliens. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. And they tell you this is a good thing. Meanwhile, other Democrats are saying, how could these evil Republicans send illegal aliens to our city? They do both things. It's like, can we just close the border? Please. This country is going to be unrecognizable in a few short years if we have to keep up with this. You could argue this country is unrecognizable now from where it was a decade ago. It's time to get serious on the border. And Republicans, where you at, guys? Seriously, let's step it up. 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. but I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or you can call 615-851-1950.
South Africa bringing genocide charges against Israel before the UN. We'll fill you in. The pilots of a Japanese commercial airliner involved in a fiery crash, they're being called heroes today. And if you bought lottery tickets in Fayetteville or Pleasant View, check your tickets. You might be a millionaire. We'll have those stories at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. Mason, do you play the lottery?
I don't, but I've been considering it recently just because of everything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody won that Powerball, man. In Michigan, 840 some odd mil.
Wow.
I always feel like it's such a scam.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But then I hear about people winning. I'm like, that could have been me.
Yeah.
If only.
I'm convinced that people that win, they play a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we were talking about the border. A lot of time the attention gets, pointed at the southern border. But the northern border is pretty much just as bad, if not, not numbers wise, but security wise. 3 Mexican illegal aliens had to be rescued in wintry conditions after crossing the Canadian border into New York. And we're hearing that at the northern border, terrorists are sneaking in. Yeah, this is happening. terrorists sneaking in from Canada.
From the U.S. northern border, an Iranian national with ties to terrorism was arrested by Border Patrol after he was caught crossing illegally right near Niagara Falls.
According to ICE, it was his second attempt trying to enter the U.S. from Canada. Authorities sending him back to Canada, where he is a permanent resident and wanted for assault charges.
Oh, good to know. So we got, we need 2 border walls. Please. And there was a lot of news over the weekend about Canada. There were reports claiming the immigration minister, Mark Miller, supported the voluntary migration of Palestinians to Canada. That was the report. And, initially everybody's like, really, dude? Like, why would you do that? That sounds like a bad idea. And they said, no. This is not, we're not taking in Palestinians. He said Canada is just launching a special program for citizens with relatives in Gaza and will issue temporary visas within that framework. Oh, so you're taking in Palestinians. Got you. And like that clip just displayed, people with ties to terrorism are being caught coming over the northern border. 3 Mexican illegal aliens had to be rescued after crossing the Canadian border into New York illegally in December. And so, Canada, what are you doing? It's Canada. Come on. I can't believe it. So this is from a news outlet called The Nation. Canada denied reports that claimed Immigration Minister Mark Miller supported the voluntary migration of Palestinians to Canada during contacts in Israel. Communication advisor at Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship, Jeffrey McDonald, said that Canada is working with partners in the region to facilitate the evacuation of its citizens. See, it's just we're looking out for Canadians. But then he went on to say Canada will launch a special program for citizens with relatives in Gaza and will issue temporary visas within that framework. He noted that the government would prioritize the evaluation of existing applications from Palestinians with family ties to Canada, and he emphasized that reports in the Israeli media regarding Miller's possible support for the voluntary migration of Palestinians to Canada during contacts in Israel are false. Like, how are they false? If you're saying, no, only if you have family ties to Canada will take in Palestinians, then we're saying you're going to take in Palestinians. Well, those are false. It's like, well, no. But he also highlighted the difficulties of leaving Gaza and emphasized that those who manage to leave must meet all entry and eligibility criteria to come to Canada. So Canada's getting Palestinians, and we have known terrorists trying to sneak across the northern border. I want to go on record. 2 walls. Can we get 2 walls, please? It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Don't forget, you can listen to us wherever you go with the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or my personal favorite, the 99.7 WTN app. It's the Chris Hand Show. Hang out with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is exactly 11 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a bit of sun and 41 degrees. A complete forecast for Middle Tennessee is on the way. Israel reacting to genocide charges brought by South Africa before the UN's top international court. Here's more from Tom Rivers.
Netanyahu's team will have to defend its actions in Gaza. In Tel Aviv, government spokesman Ilan Levy.
The state of Israel will appear before the International Court of Justice at The Hague to dispel South Africa's absurd blood libel.
And a hint of their strategy going on the offense.
We assure South Africa's leaders, history will judge you, and it will judge you without mercy.
The Israeli legal action this time unusual, as it rarely cooperates with such international proceedings.
The pilots on board Japan Airlines Flight 516 are being hailed as heroes today after they managed to safely evacuate almost 400 passengers and crew from their aircraft when the jet burst into flames after colliding with a Coast Guard plane while landing at Tokyo Airport. ABC News contributor and former Marine Corps fighter pilot Colonel Steve Ganyard says the key to this success evacuation lies on where the Japan Airlines jet was struck.
It clipped the JAL A350 just at a point where, yes, it did create that horrific explosion, but it wasn't so bad that the JAL crew in the cockpit weren't able to keep the airplane tracking down the runway. And that is the key to why this was a successful evacuation of all the passengers on board.
5 of the 6 crew, however, aboard the Coast Guard aircraft were killed. That's according to Japan's prime minister. The Tennessee Lottery said if you recently bought a ticket in Fayetteville or Pleasant View, you may want to check those tickets. Lottery officials said a winner in Fayetteville won $1.1 million. The Pleasant View winner won $1 million. The Fayetteville ticket was sold at a Shell station on Huntsville Highway, and the Pleasant View ticket, it was sold at a gas station on Highway 49 East. That would indeed be a happy new year if you were able to snag one of those tickets, huh? That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Am I in the minority where I just want some snow? Like, I heard the weather report saying we're going to get rain. Can we get some snow?
I would love some snow around here.
Like, let's
just to cheer it up a little bit. I don't know.
Let's do it. Yeah, I understand. I may be in the minority.
The frustrating part about snow in Tennessee is that it just turns to ice.
Man,
just turns to ice.
I would take it. I want to take the kids sledding.
That would be cool.
Kids got sleds for Christmas
that's
last
cool.
year.
Okay, so you haven't really
have not had a chance to use
Yeah,
it.
I was about to say.
So, I would like some snow. That would be nice. But, I'm at least, I probably have more chance of snow than Republicans doing anything positive
photo op.
in 2024. Just full disclosure. In fact, Governor Mike DeWine out of Ohio, have you heard about this?
No, lay it on me.
This guy's terrible. He needs to be out. He vetoed the SAFE Act in Ohio. And the SAFE Act would ban, on Fox News, they use the left-approved language of gender reassignment treatment. It's gender mutilation surgery for kids. The SAFE Act would ban gender mutilation surgery. And the Ohio governor vetoed the bill. It also would have blocked trans athletes from female sports. Now, obviously, conservatives are like, dude, what is your deal? Like, I feel like out of all the issues that we can agree on, chopping off kids' bits should be just, everybody agrees that that's not okay. The bill that he vetoed, the Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act, the SAFE Act, passed the GOP-controlled state legislature, but was vetoed by the governor on Friday. Why, dude? The SAFE Act would have barred sex change treatments for minors while blocking transgender women and girls from participating in female sports leagues in Ohio. Now, I will just say this. Maybe I'm a little bit too in the weeds on this. And as a father with young children, this one drives me nuts because this is an irreversible process. You're letting a child make a determination for the rest of their lives. And people like Nikki Haley will tell you, oh, you should leave it up to the parents. But listen, parents abuse their kids all the time. And child abuse is something that we let the government step in and say, no, you can't abuse your kids. This is child abuse. In fact, these surgeries are horrific. If you are a man and you get one of these surgeries, you will spend the rest of your life having to deal with the fact that your body is trying to heal itself because you have an open wound. But Governor Mike DeWine out of Ohio, a Republican conservative governor, vetoes the bill. He vetoes it. He thinks men should be in the locker room with your girls and playing on sports leagues with your girls. He thinks your kids should be allowed to take puberty blockers and forever ruin their chances of reproducing. It's crazy. DeWine said in his veto message, were I to sign Substitute House Bill 68, or were Substitute House Bill 68 to become law, Ohio would be saying that the government knows what is best medically for a child, rather than the two people who love that child the most, the parents. No, that's not what the state would be saying. The state would be saying that you are not allowed to abuse your children as parents. The same way every state says you can't abuse your children. Because that's what this is. This is abuse. Full stop. It's abuse. And I'm sorry. You talk to detransitioners like Chloe Cole, and she'll tell you that not only was she duped into transitioning through love bombing on social media, which is a process where they'll tell you, you're feeling down. Maybe you're more comfortable in boy clothes. Wow, you look great in boy clothes. You should cut your hair. Wow, you look great with short hair. Now you should try to transition. And it's a slow process. It's grooming. It's grooming. But they do it to the parents too. And the medical industrial complex makes so much money off of this that they'll tell the parents that, hey, you know what? It's either your child is going to commit suicide or your child is going to transition. So when Governor DeWine says, the government is saying they know what's best medically for a child rather than the two people that love the child the most, the parents, he doesn't even take into account the fact that the medical industrial complex is lying to the parents every step of the way as well. And that the parents have been duped every step of the way as well. It's ridiculous. He continues, while there are rare times in law and other circumstances where the state overrules the medical decisions made by parents, I can think of no example where this is done not only against the decision of the parents, but also against the medical judgment of the treating physician and the treating team of medical experts. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. J.D. Vance slammed him on Twitter, said, "This is a slogan, not a justification. There are many things the law rightfully says no one, including parents, may do to children. This slogan also ignores the extraordinary pressure from interest groups, from interest groups and big pharma to greenlight poorly understood, irreversible procedures. I'm extremely disappointed in the governor's decision and hope it is overridden." And it can't be overridden. I will say this. They have a Republican-led state legislature, a Republican majority. They can override the governor's veto. But this is ridiculous. What kind of conservative is for this? I'll tell you what kind. A fake conservative. A rhino, if you will. GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who is also from Ohio, said that DeWine just vetoed a simple law that would have stopped boys from competing in girls' sports and stopped kids from undergoing genital mutilation and chemical castration. Even Ohio's lieutenant governor favored passage of the bill. Shame on DeWine. Shame on DeWine. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine should be removed. Absolutely. He's a spineless coward. This is not okay. Conservatives laid in on him. DeWine's office pointed to the governor's press release containing the veto message when asked for comment. They don't even have anything to say. Not all Republicans, Fox News writes, joined in on the pile-on of DeWine, however. Ohio State Republican Gary Click said the governor was working to find a solution. Oh, okay. Yeah, working to find a solution. Said the governor did not end the dialogue today. He joined it. I look forward to our discussions. There remains much more to say and do. A veto is not the final word. Hey, Gary Click, you should be voted out as well. Why would Governor DeWine do this? Seriously, why? Are there any actual justifications for this? Russ in Nashville, you have a comment on this. You think it's on it being the parents' decision. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Russ?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. You know, that's such a leftist talking point. Oh, let the parents decide. The parents know best. The parents know best. Yeah, they love to spout that until the parents tell the child no.
Yep.
And then the state wants to step in and sue the parents and prosecute the parents for not doing what the child wants.
If the parents let the kids get a tattoo, if the parents let the kid drink alcohol, they would be in trouble. But if they want to irreversibly change their biology, that's okay.
Well, you know, that's the thing. If the parents were to tell the kids, no, you can't have this surgery, guaranteed people like DeWine would be trying to step in and prosecute the parents for abuse. You're emotionally abusing your child.
Yeah, DeWine needs to be removed. He is a fake Republican, and there's no space in the conservative party for anybody like this.
No, thanks.
Hey, appreciate your call, Russ. Thanks so much. So what on earth could have made Governor Mike DeWine veto this bill? Well, there were reports that Mike DeWine actually took $40,300 from Ohio hospitals that perform child sex changes before vetoing the bill to protect kids from the practice. Oh, weird. Weird. So a process that makes these kids lifelong customers of the medical industrial complex gave Mike DeWine money before he vetoed the bill. And make no mistake about it, they make a lot of money off of these surgeries. Mike DeWine took $40,300 from Ohio hospitals that perform child sex changes before vetoing the bill to protect kids from the practice. This is from the Post Millennial. after Ohio Governor Mike DeWine vetoed legislation that would have banned sex changes for minors. A new report revealed that he's received thousands in campaign donations from hospitals that conduct or support those procedures. Oh, weird, dude, weird. According to the Daily Caller, from 2018 to 2023, DeWine received $40,300 total from Ohio Children's Hospital Association, Cincinnati's Children's, Nationwide Children's Hospital, and ProMedica Children's Hospital. Investigative researcher for Capital Research, Parker Thayer, pointed out on Twitter that nearly half of the medical donations came from the OHCA, the Ohio Children's Hospital Association. And he said, oh, how nice of him to veto a bill that would have cost gender-affirming care children's hospitals millions of dollars. So he vetoed the bill after he takes donations from the hospitals. What an absolute slime ball. Slime ball. Follow the money, right? That's what John said. He texted in. Chris, the answer to wrong, inexplicable decisions is always follow the money. Rush was right. Follow the money. Well, the money says that Mike DeWine's taking donations from these hospitals that make millions off of these surgeries. In reaction to the governor's veto, the Ohio Hospital Children, OCHA, the Ohio Children's Hospital Association, their president, Nick Lashutka, said, we're thankful for Governor DeWine's thoughtful approach in thoroughly researching the issue of gender-affirming care and vetoing sub-HB 68 today. We welcome the opportunity to work with the governor, the Ohio General Assembly, and relevant state agencies to ensure Ohio's youth have access to the critical care they need while also addressing concerns raised during debate on HB 68. This is not critical care these kids need. It's not. This is life-altering surgeries that these hospitals make millions upon millions of dollars off of. And what Governor Mike DeWine did, he betrayed the kids in Ohio. He could have had their back. He had a chance to do the right thing, and he didn't. And he didn't because he gets campaign donations from these hospitals that make millions off of it. In defense of his veto, again, DeWine said this bill would impact a very small number of Ohio's children. But for those children who face gender dysphoria, the consequences of this bill could not be more profound. He claimed it was about protecting human life. He is an absolute loser. This is evil. When you're more concerned about campaign donations than the kids in your own state, that is evil. This is pure evil. We need to judge our society based on how we treat the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable are children. And Ohio Governor Mike DeWine just said, yeah, screw them. I'll take the campaign donations. Thanks. Harmeet Dillon put on Twitter that Republican governor signing every piece of trash the left puts before him, including a mandate. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We see it time and time again. Earlier this year, Nevada's Republican Governor Joe Lombardo signed a bill that forced insurance companies to pay for minors to get sex change operations as long as the procedure is recommended by a psychologist, psychiatrist, or other mental health professionals, as well as a physician. Republican governors. Republicans. It's the worst. I feel like we have to deal with the trash in our own party first. You know, we have a lot of issues with the left, but at least the left will expose themselves on their own. It's like the ones on our side, they do it when we least expect it. It's awful. Mike DeWine needs to be removed. It's infuriating. Like as a dad with 4 little kids, nope, hard pass. Research what actually goes into these surgeries. It is too graphic, too gory for me to go into detail on air because the FCC would probably fine us if I really described what were in these surgeries because I have to follow these regulations. That if I really went into it, I would probably be have an email and, maybe be taken off the air for a day or two because I went too far in describing what are in these surgeries. It's awful. It's awful. 11:21. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. As you can tell, it's getting cold. It's colder and colder, and it's time to make sure that your heating system is working the best way, the Busy Bee way, with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. If you haven't gotten it serviced, it's not too late to do it. You got to make sure that it's working in tip-top shape. You don't want to wait for a problem to pop up with your heat this time of year. You got to be proactive and keep your unit in that tip-top shape. So whether you need annual maintenance, repair, or replacement, plumbing, heating, or air system, call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You're not going to find a better value on replacement systems if that's the route you need to go. Busy Bee offers up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it also pays in so many ways to sign up for the annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. Plus, for added rewards and savings, you can sign up to be a Busy Bee Hive member. My wife loves that we're Beehive members. With that, you get thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems, no overtime charges 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Plus, you get front-of-the-line service. They always have convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online, busybeehvac.com.
With the new year come new laws all across the country. We'll fill you in on some of that. And part of 2nd Avenue here in downtown Nashville is shut down, and it's going to be for the next year. We'll tell you where and why. All that at 11:30. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. It is 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, whenever you talk about the gender mutilation surgeries, never fails. You have The woke libs coming out of the woodwork on the super text line at 615-737-9986.
Got to get a voice out there somehow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, geez. They could call in and have the conversation, too. Phone lines are open.
I think the anonymity is what gives them that power.
Well, so they texted in. 2865 said, so would you rather have these kids commit suicide than to have what they need or want? What kind of parent are you? Straw man spotted. That's a straw man argument. Yes. Oh, yes. I'd much rather have kids commit suicide. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. This is what they do. And when you talk to detransitioners, 2865, like I have, they'll tell you that they use those talking points to convince the parents. Like Chloe Cole. Her parents were told, would you rather have your daughter be a boy or be dead? And they were shocked. Said, of course, we love our kid. We can't do that to them. So they let Chloe transition to a boy. About 2 years after that, Chloe realized that she made a huge mistake. And she went down a path that you can't turn around from. So no, it's not. That's not the answer. Would you rather have these kids commit suicide? It's ridiculous. I had another texter, 4559. Speaking of DeWine, compare that to Repubs taking huge money from the NRA, while school shootings and other shootings in public places continues to be on the rise. Talk about infuriating. Guns are the number one killer of children. And I responded back, you spelled abortion wrong. 4559. Spelled abortion wrong. There's nothing that you are going to do to convince me that gender mutilation surgeries for kids are okay. Nothing. And you can look at the statistics. After transitioning, suicide is still there. Still there. It's awful. And leave it to a liberal to come out of the woodwork and tell me, oh, well, what about guns? Okay, thanks. Because, if I'm against gender mutilation surgery, then I must be pro-gun argument. Thanks. Yep. 4559 responded. They said, guns are the number one killer of children. I wrote, spelled abortion wrong. They said, stupid argument, Chris. But this is what the left does. I'm talking about gender mutilation surgery. 4559 brings it to guns. I bring it to abortion. And that I'm a stupid argument. You're moving goalposts. Keith and Brentwood, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Keith?
Hey, about the mental health thing, and it's a choice between suicide and a gender change or whatever. Basically, the kids are messed up to begin with. If they've got mental health problems, and rather than fake mental health, they need real mental health treatment to address whatever the underlying problem is. It's causing them to be unhappy with themselves in the first place. They think if they could change their gender somehow, that's going to fix all their problems, and then you find out later, oh, gee, guess what? This didn't really work. It's like drinking Coca-Cola when you're thirsty and you need water. It's not what they really need. And then after the damage is done, it's too late, and they still need therapy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks for the call, Keith. I appreciate it. I couldn't have said it any better myself. It is 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's the latest headlines with Jay Harper.
Yes, we are coming up on 11:30. Good morning. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine, 42 degrees, a complete forecast in just a couple of minutes. With the new year comes new state laws, from guns to minimum wage to inclusion programs. Here's ABC's News Chief White House correspondent. This is Mary Bruce as she addresses the minimum wage.
The federal minimum wage, it hasn't actually been raised in nearly 15 years now, still stuck at $7.25 an hour. But once again, we are seeing states taking matters into their own hands. 22 states are raising their minimum wage. Many workers, that means, will now be making $15 an hour or more.
Here in Nashville, part of 2nd Avenue downtown will be closed to traffic for a year while the roadway undergoes construction. Beginning today, the south block of 2nd Avenue will shut down between Church Street and Broadway. Metro Development and Housing says barricades and fencing are set up along sidewalks of the south block. Vehicles heading north They're being detoured east and westbound onto Demonbreun Street toward 1st or 3rd Avenue. Vehicles will be required to turn east or west on Broadway from 2nd Avenue south. Are you catching all this? Vehicles traveling north on 1st Avenue, they're going to have the option to travel west via Church Street before Union Street. The South Block, it's expected to be closed for 12 months. A pedestrian walkway, a crosswalk will still be available to foot traffic down there. The rebuilding process, it is related to the 2020 Christmas Day bombing that gutted parts of 2nd Avenue. That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Yeah, he gave kind of the classic trans activist argument, to be honest with you, saying that it's not the government's role to interfere, that this is a decision that should be made by doctors and by parents. And that sounds very reasonable to someone who knows nothing about this. But there's one right that parents don't have, and that's the right to abuse their own children. And what this is child abuse, pure and simple. We have dishonest, unethical doctors who are essentially a part of a cult, who are harming children. They should know better. A lot of them do know better, but they're hurting these kids anyway. And then we have heavily indoctrinated parents who think their 3-year-old boy is a girl just because he's a little effeminate. It's totally insane. And it is the role of government to stop child abuse from happening. So he weaseled out of this. I think he was too afraid of trans activists, and who knows what other lobbyists got to him. But the good news is that Ohio has a supermajority of Republicans, so they can override his veto, and I expect that to occur. This has happened in some other states as well.
That was Billboard Chris on Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's decision to veto the SAFE Act. House Bill 68 in Ohio. It would have basically outlawed gender mutilation surgery for minors, and it also would have kept, boys that present themselves as girls out of girls' sports. Radical. So the governor vetoes the bill. Unbelievable. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I get liberals texting me like, "Oh, Chris, you're wrong. You're wrong." 2865 said, "So would you rather have these kids commit suicide than to have what they need or want? What kind of parent are you?" Attacking my parenting. Thanks. Thank you so much. And I just responded, straw man, spotted. Then he said, "So what do you think of the hormone stuff that isn't physically changing their body?" And I responded with what I've learned from research. The puberty blockers, the hormone stuff, as this texter 2865 put it, it is medical castration. And there's studies that show it makes bones weaker and doesn't help anything. In fact, if you are a fan of sexually transitioning someone through these gender mutilation surgeries, these puberty blockers actually will hurt that process down the road because you need a little bit more, how do I put this, length down there in order to do the surgery correctly to reverse it and turn it inside out. I don't know if that might get me in trouble, but that's like the best way that I can put it. And the puberty blockers stop that. So, I said to 2865, you can call in and have this convo on air. 2865 just responded, "Y'all would hate me because I look down the middle and not to the right or left. I don't like Biden and don't trust Trump." Listen, if there's a show you want to call in, like this is the show. I'll let you say your piece. I won't talk over you. I won't scream at you. But seriously, I want you to defend what you're saying, because all I'm hearing from you are liberal talking points. So you'd rather have kids commit suicide. Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying. But you can call in 615-737-9986. It's crazy. 9058 texted in and said, "This is why my wife was trying to run for school board, but she was a Republican and got demolished. She raised $50K, but her opponent got $200K of outside money." Yep. I mean, this is important stuff. And I don't want to be an echo chamber, and I'd rather have a leftist who believes in this kind of thing call in and have the conversation rather than just throwing out texts and saying, "What kind of parent are you? You want kids to commit suicide?" No, I don't. I don't want kids to commit suicide. I also don't want kids to have these irreversible procedures that is not going to help anything. As multiple texters have sent in, and multiple research items that you can find online will say, suicide rate doesn't improve after transitioning. That's a straw man argument. And I just don't like the straw man arguments. Like, if you can provide an actual point why this is important for kids to do, tell me. But all I get is a straw man. It's like, "Oh, well, guns kill more. What about guns?" Oh, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. This is the other thing. I'm actually bashing a Republican here, but they don't want to hear that because they're such ideologues. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, just to recap, He vetoed a bill to protect kids from gender mutilation surgery. He vetoed the bill that would have kept boys out of girl sports. Why would he do such a thing? Well, it turns out that Ohio Governor Mike DeWine also took $40,300 from Ohio hospitals in campaign donations. These same Ohio hospitals that perform child sex changes. Weird how that works out, right? But, I'll get mean texts. I'll get mean texts from the left. But I won't get a phone call. I won't get a conversation. It's crazy. I would love a Democrat to call in and tell me why this is a good idea. I could sit here and beg for the next 20 minutes and I won't get a phone call for it. 615-737-9986. Anybody. Bueller? They won't call. Will they call?
I doubt it.
They're not going to call.
We did just have someone call in, and I don't know if they heard it on my end of the line or anything like that, but I do want to say it on the air in case they are listening. Whoever just called in, your phone line was I couldn't hear anything. You were a little staticky, little pops coming in and out. So please call back. We want to get your calls on here.
Yeah, 615-737-9986. 1333 texted in. Gender change good, school choice bad. The whole world is a clown show. Yep, you're absolutely right, 1333. Jim says it's because they know they'll lose the argument. Listen, I'm not even trying to get a win, but tell me. Tell me your points. I'm not trying to dunk on people, but seriously. What is the logic and the reasoning behind this? And why would an Ohio Republican veto this bill? There's no logic behind it. Oh, yep, except he got campaign donations from these hospitals that make millions off of this stuff. And they do. This is a big money getter. It's a big money getter on so many different levels, too. If you ever want to wonder why there was a rise in these transgender causes, because when Obama was president, they legalized gay marriage. You had a bunch of nonprofit organizations go, oh, man, what do we do now? We can't keep fighting for marriage equality. So what's the next fringe cause to keep our NGO nonprofit going? And there was transgenderism. So they grabbed that, they boosted it up, and they didn't boost it up because they cared. They boosted it up because they didn't want the money to stop flowing. Full stop. They didn't want the money to stop. So that became the issue of the day. And once they got, adults in on it, then they started getting kids in on it. It's a lot easier to talk a child into it than it is an adult. It's ridiculous. It's not okay. And Ohio Governor Mike DeWine cares more about campaign donations than he cares about the kids of Ohio. It's ridiculous. Let's go to, is it Taria in Antioch? You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Taria?
Okay, so I just want you to know that not all Democrats believe in that crap about, having kids transition. I'm totally against it. I'm totally against kids, boys playing on girls' basketball teams. I'm totally against boys using girls' restrooms. And the fact that people are, I don't think it's a Democrat thing. I think that it's been, with our elected officials, they're making the wrong decisions. They're making it based on the money they get from, special interest groups. But, I 100% agree with what you're saying.
So you're a Democrat, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what do the people in your party say when you speak out against this? All the other issues aside, what do they say when you say, I'm not with this?
They just, the response I get when I write, even the president, is that, they understand my position. That's it.
They understand?
Nothing else.
So if you
Nothing else.
if you went to a school board meeting and said, I don't want boys in the women's bathroom, like now you're just like us and you're going to be treated like a domestic terrorist.
You're right. You're right. But that's wrong. It's just wrong. It's wrong. And I hadn't been to a school board meeting in years because both my kids are adults. But I remember, at one point my little son wanted some fingernail polish, because I was painting my daughter's nails. And I said, no, you can. I'll get you a basketball. So you want a basketball instead? He said, yeah. So, I kind of.
I don't know, Taria. You sound kind of conservative.
But I'm not conservative. I'm not a far left either. All I can tell you is that, I really agree with what your talking points, and I appreciate that you're saying it. And if anyone gets mad or whatever, that's their own personal problems. But we need to let boys be boys, girls be girls. And once they become adults, if they decide to make changes to themselves, then that's their own thing.
No, and you know what? If adults want to do that kind of stuff, that's on them. I would always say,
Right.
You got to come back to the Lord and figure that out. Now, I got to ask you while I have you on the phone, why are you a Democrat? What is the Democrat Party doing that you're like, yeah, that's my party?
Well, I didn't used to be. I used to be just neutral. I used to just pick whoever was, to me, the best person for the position. But the only thing is, I just moved from Texas. In Texas, if you're in Texas, you can't. You have to pick one or the other. On the ballots, you have to either get a Republican ballot or Democrat ballot. They won't let you make a decision based on your personal choice.
Okay.
So I think that would be one thing. I wouldn't ever vote for Biden again in my lifetime, but I don't want Trump. So I think Chris Christie might be a good choice.
Ugh.
And he's a Republican.
It gave me the cold shivers.
I know, but at least he says what he feels and feels what he says.
You don't think Trump says what he feels and feels what he says?
Oh, my. We would go back to the 50s and 60s if he got back in office.
Are you sure? Because when he was in office last time, we had a booming economy, the lowest African American unemployment. They had
But that didn't happen from him. That happened from Obama. He just came on when all the stuff was going on anyway. It was already getting to that point.
I don't know. I mean, the economic opportunity zones from Trump were pretty big. I don't technically agree with that, but you still kind of haven't answered the question on what policies you really like with the Democrats.
I can tell you, I don't know. I don't know at this point. Right now, I can't tell you.
Taria, I'd love to go get lunch with you and bring you over to the dark side. I feel like you're a conservative waiting to happen. A super texter pointed out, 7823 said, even Chris Christie doesn't like Chris Christie. But but I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. It's 11:49 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1154. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by Matt Murphy. Back in his normal slot today. What up, Matt?
Hello. Hey, Mr. Hand, how are you?
I'm good.
Happy
How are you doing?
2024.
Yeah, 2024.
Had a good time off. I'm sure you did.
Yes.
Been listening.
Been hung out with the kids. I really tried to stay away from the phone and spend some good quality time with the kids.
I saw you losing that battle late. I saw that. I always monitor. I always enjoy monitoring, and I do the same thing. It's like I'm not getting on social media.
Yep.
That's a part of work. I'm getting away from it. It's like, how long can I last?
Yeah.
And you lasted a good while. I saw you last couple of days.
Yeah. The last couple of days, I was like, well, now I'm getting back into the realm.
Get into the rhythm, baby.
I have to find things that are going to make me angry, like the Ohio governor.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on Friday. That broke Friday afternoon when I was subbing in for Brian Wilson in The Drive. And my take, and I agree with everything that you've said about it, but I focused in on this concept that parents are all-knowing in terms of how to raise their children and all decisions involving their children. So as you mentioned, tattoos.
Yeah.
We're good with that. We're good with alcohol consumption. We're good with just pick anything that we have decided as a society that we're going to preclude individuals under the age of majority from doing.
Yeah.
parents get to supersede that, override that now?
I guess so.
I mean, and it's ridiculous. And you're right. This non-starter of an argument. Well, what do you want? The kid's dead? No. And frankly, the statistics show.
Thank you.
I mean, none of the statistics indicate that you are going to lessen teenage suicides by transitioning them to another gender.
And all I get from Democrats, first, they don't call in. Well, I had one Democrat call in, and she was really sweet, Taria. She's like, I don't agree with any of that stuff. Like, I think you're kind of conservative. But anyway.
Right.
But the other stuff I get is...
We'll get her.
Yeah, the other stuff I get is just mean texts and strawmans. It's just, well, guns kill so many kids, and the NRA donates to Republicans. It's like abortion kills more kids. He spelled abortion wrong.
Right? Yeah, and I don't know what Mike DeWine's motivation is. It might be motivated. I don't know.
So there's a report out that he had gotten campaign donations from Ohio hospitals up to $40,000.
And that's what the liberals do in there, because they're going to say because Marsha Blackburn gets NRA money that Marsha Blackburn isn't really pro Second Amendment. She's just pro whatever. I care about what actions he's taken and the harm that he's doing to children in the state of Ohio. And their rights. They have rights too.
We're going to be judged by how we take care of the most vulnerable.
Amen.
And these kids, if their parents aren't going to take care of them, like, the government has a right to step in and stop abuse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing called child abuse, and I would define permanently mutilating a child's body because they ask you to, or because some doctor tells you that it's an okay thing to do,
or it's a
would
TikTok,
be the definition of
or
child.
it's a TikTok trend.
It's the definition of child abuse.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And actually, it infuriates me.
And what infuriates me, if you engage in the argument like you've been trying to do, the only argument that the left seems to rest on is this lie that, well, if you don't do this, they're going to kill themselves. Well, these young teenagers full of hormones and full of emotional angst that are predisposed to walking down that path are still walking down that path, regardless of none of this works in a way that you suggested it does.
And they ignore all of the stories and statements from detransitioners, which is a growing field of young people. Like Chloe Cole says, not only was I duped, but my parents were duped by the medical complex.
Yeah, we're gonna look back, and you and I see this now. Most of us who are clear-eyed about this see it. We're going to look back on this in 10 years, and it's going to be far more obvious to a far greater percentage of the population what devastation we're wreaking on some of these young people.
We're going to see the infomercials. Did you or someone you know get prescribed puberty blockers?
That's right.
It's going to happen. And then the puberty blocker argument drives me nuts, too, because if you actually do the research, you need a little bit more down there to do the procedure to transition. And the puberty blockers,
that's exactly
the puberty
right.
blockers stop that. So, like, it goes against their own logic to do it.
You actually, the way that and it's a delicate subject, but the way that these operations are done, you have to have more material in order to get them done. And blocking one's natural puberty stage, you're losing the ability to accomplish what you claim to want to accomplish that you and I disagree with in the first place.
You need some length for the flip and zip. That's what you need.
Okie dokie. That's Chris Hand.
What do you got coming up on the show, Matt?
We'll talk a little Epstein and the flight logs, and I want to ask the question. It's a legit question. Does the fact that Donald Trump's going to appear on flight logs, has appeared on flight logs, does it take the sting out of what we might see coming up today or tomorrow or this week?
All right, it's Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Yep.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. An upstate New York man rented an SUV, made multiple purchases of gasoline and gas containers, and drove a rented Ford Expedition SUV toward pedestrians at a Rochester concert venue. He hit an Uber, killing both people inside that vehicle and injured pedestrians. But as ABC's Aaron Katersky tells us, had 35-year-old Michael Avery not hit the Uber, many more pedestrians may have been hit.
Now, a lot of them, in all likelihood, could have been killed had the Expedition not collided with another vehicle as it was leaving the parking lot. This was a for-hire Uber, and 2 of the passengers were among those killed. Michael Avery, the driver of the Ford Expedition, died overnight of his injuries.
New details after a man broke into the Colorado Supreme Court building today and opened fire.